Ted Evers is our presenter today, and he will be speaking to us about virtual travel and how you can generate revenue from this interesting concept. So without any further ado, Ted, if you can share your screen and begin your presentation. Ladies, if you wish, it's going to be very interactive, very informal. So we will definitely entertain any questions you may have live at the end of the presentation. Thank you, Ted. You can start.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Janet. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. Wish we could do it in person, of course, but I guess this is the next best thing. I wanted to start by introducing myself, first of all. So as Janet mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of a company called TripTuner, and we are a visual inspiration engine that helps travelers find ideal destinations and travel experiences based on their interests without having to do a lot of research. So today we're here to talk about virtual travel and how we can monetize virtual travel. Obviously, it's a hot topic because of the fact that for a lot of us, we can't travel certain places. So it becomes the next best thing on how we can stay connected with all the travelers that are out there. So the first thing about virtual travel is that it's not necessarily new. The first virtual travel application, I think, was a CD-ROM back in the 90s of a castle in England. And what you're looking at here, some of you may remember there was a Microsoft Encarta, which was sort of a interactive version of an encyclopedia that you could have, and you could explore the world, drill down to whatever country you wanted and find out facts and information about that country. So obviously that didn't become a huge hit, but there was other technology out there, right? We have Google Earth now and Google Maps where you can do the same thing online or on your phone. But going all the way back to the 90s, we did have virtual travel. And then in its more recent incarnation, we think of it in these terms where it's more about the images that we see. If you're touring a particular hotel property, virtual tours and kind of 360 photos were sort of all the rage about 10 years ago or so, and provide a very good way of being able to see what a property's like, and you can click on the different rooms and the different views. This is a capture from Thresholds 360, a company that provides virtual travel solutions. So we thank them for that footage. And as you can see, I mean, if you're planning an incentive or a meeting trip, you can see that they have a nice veranda here with a gazebo where there could be a wedding or some other sort of function right along the beach. So it provides a way of really being able to see what's going on in a particular destination or get a better sense of it without physically having to be there. And for obvious reasons, that can be very beneficial right now. Now, the more practical or the more recent example, I should say, of what we think of when we talk about virtual travel is virtual reality, right? Is these big goggles. There's a company now, Oculus, which is owned by Facebook, where some of you may have seen at trade shows, perhaps, where you had someone that was putting these on and you could see different destinations. You may have seen videos or images of someone who's maybe doing a bungee jump or something virtually, and they're physically moved by this because of that whole kind of sensory experience. So a lot of this is still kind of relegated to more of kind of high-end headsets, although there was recently a headset just announced recently, and you've seen some advertisements for it, that's under $300. So it may become more mainstream. We have seen over the past few years an increase about 30% on a year-over-year basis in terms of virtual reality hardware or headsets. And a lot of that has slowed a little bit due to the pandemic, but it's mainly been due to supply chain issues. But we do expect to see that grow. And if any of you have ever used it, it's pretty impressive. But what I'd like to talk about today is virtual travel in a new context. So it's a loaded term for sure, because we all have our different views on it and different ideas of what it is. But I'd like to present a new definition. So to me, virtual travel is being able to experience a place without physically being there. And that's really at the essence of what we're trying to do these days when travel is restricted. So what are the ways that we can do that? Well, if you've ever been to the Casa Bacardi in San Juan, Puerto Rico, they have a very nice experience there where you can taste different rums. You can buy rums that are exclusively sold only on premises. So they said, okay, what can we do to help engage our market, to keep top of mind with travelers and people? And so they created this mixology kit, so you can actually buy this kit, get your rum, of course, and whatever type of recipe, and there will be a mixology course online so that you can make your own Cuba Libre or pina colada or whatever type of drink that you want online with one of the mixologists that is at the caliber of Casa Bacardi level. So you're learning from an expert, and one of the things of these virtual experiences is that they've given us access to experts all over the world, whether they be chefs or mixologists or travel experts. So in a lot of sense, it's brought us even further close together, even though obviously we can't be there physically. So when you're a museum, being there physically is everything, right? I mean, so this is one example from the Cowboy Museum. And when they were closed down, the only person there really was the head of security. So in this example, they turned their social media accounts over to Tim. Now, Tim, needless to say, is not like your savvy digital marketer, social influencer type. I don't think anyone's going to stop him on the street mistaking him for a social influencer. And he's okay with that. And he wears that like a badge of honor. So what they do, but it's very, you can follow his posts. They're very funny. Obviously, we're not going to read them in their entirety here, but he was saying how his managers said that they wanted him to create quote unquote content and to share them on quote unquote platforms like the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Instagram. So as you can see, he might not be your kind of the savviest digital marketer, but lo and behold, they increased their social media following several fold. And as you can see by some of the posts here, they're quite hilarious. So, and the one in the upper right there says someone told him that he should create a TikTok. So naturally, he provided a clock and shared it with them. So an interesting example of how people were making use of the situation of not being able to have anyone physically enter the place, but you can experience more than just the museum and what's inside. You're experiencing the people that are there, and that creates a really, really strong connection. And that's one of the benefits of how they've done this. Like I said, they increased their social media following significantly. Let's go down to our favorite islands of the Bahamas. We'd like to thank them for their sponsorship today. And also, they have a very distinct Androsia batik fabric that's created on the island of Andros. If you have a chance to go there, you can sample it in person. However, in a very practical sense, you can also buy an Androsia patterned face mask. So in a very practical way, this is the way that the Bahamas can really travel and share their culture with people and travelers who aren't able to physically be there. And what better way to do it than in a face mask, which obviously are very much needed at this time. Now, what I'd like to do is share a little bit about how we at TripTuner have approached this. This is an example of the Florida Beach Finder. Now, it's not necessarily new in the sense that it was created after the BP oil spill many years ago. And it was a way that they could show the world that their beaches were open, clean, pristine, and ready for visitation. So we created this, and it was a challenge because when you have all of this content, you can't just sort of throw it on someone. You may have heard the phrase of drinking from a fire hose, and that happens whenever you have a lot of different types of content. So they had an ultra marathon runner go out with a Google Street View pack and go across the entire 825 miles of Florida coastline and capture this footage of all of their beaches. And then what we did was we said, let's give people a way where they can find the beach that's fine-tuned to their preferences, whether it's more of a couples or a family outing. Does someone want someplace that's a little bit more secluded, a little bit more active? Do they want something that's a little bit more rustic versus more manicured? And in doing so, they can find their ideal option. But more importantly, they can experience the place without physically being there. And what happened over the summer was that Travel and Leisure featured this as one of the ways where you can experience Florida's beach from the comfort of your couch, sipping a margarita. So another example of sharing that experience without requiring people to have to be there physically. Now, this is something that emanated out of our site, triptuner.com, which we launched 9 years ago this month, incidentally. And as you can see, it's a very visual way of discovering destinations all around the world based on your interest. So obviously, a lot of these places we can't travel to now. But as you'll see, if you enter the site, there's a message there that says basically, let's enjoy looking at fabulous pictures of places around the world so that we can, build or refine our bucket list. And for marketers, it's a way of kind of capturing interest or leads to determine where someone wants to go next. And in this context of today's context of figuring out where it's open, I want you to stay tuned because we're going to be launching more things about giving people ideas on what destinations are open now, when you can go, etc. Again, another way that you can experience a destination without being there. So I'm going to take a step back now and present a new concept here. So a lot of you may be familiar with the concept of a sales funnel. That can apply to whatever you're selling. If it's online, if it's offline, at the top of the funnel, it's wide. That's where you capture your leads or your prospects. And then as they move down towards the funnel, we're trying to encourage them to ultimately make that purchase. And online, it's a book now button generally. And over the years, it's been a lot easier for people to move more quickly along that typical customer journey that a lot of people refer to. So you could be, for example, on your phone in a meeting and taking a look at your Instagram feed, and all of a sudden you see a place in the Bahamas that you want to go to, and then you flip over to Bahamas.com or to your favorite travel site, and you can book it right then and there. So that distance between that inspiration or the idea and the actual purchase or the booking has been shrinking over the years due to technology. So instead of a funnel, I like to call it more of a sphere, because no matter where you are, whether it's literally or figuratively, you can capture these moments of inspiration. You can get that idea, that urge, that curiosity about a particular place, and literally in a few clicks or a few taps on your phone, you could purchase it and be going there. And in today's context, of course, it could just be saving it, or a lot of us can purchase things now with all the relaxed cancellation penalties or fully refundable offers. It makes the barrier a lot lower in terms of being able to book something that inspires you right now. So no matter where you are on that sphere, that purchase or that book now button is equidistant. So, and it is shrinking as technology progresses, and as all of those means of bookings become a lot easier. And that's one of the trends that we've seen that has been accelerated during COVID, just like virtual conferencing that we're doing now and doing today. So I like to think of the sphere as the new funnel. Now, how does that take place in all practicality? I'll share an example of something that we did with cheaptickets.com, part of the Expedia group. As you can see, that's Los Angeles. That's a Getty Museum in Los Angeles there, nice Frank Gehry design. When you click through, you can see the different options, whether it's a flight or hotel option. So as you're going through, you're inspiring, you can get a quick view of more information and some offers just to see if it kind of sits well with you, if that's something that appeals to you, and then you can book it right then and there. You don't have to go through that booking process. We're not forcing you down a particular path. You can easily click out and scroll through and see some other destinations. So it's a very sort of natural way and not so much of a hard sell, but you're able to kind of browse a little bit and experience that place virtually, but then convert it into a booking. And that's a theme of providing sort of natural, easy ways to initiate a purchase or a search or give your information for a lead, is really the main thing that we've seen recently with all of these virtual travel techniques. So when we talk about lead generation, I'll share another example, and this is an image from Threshold 360 as well, of the AC Hotel in Tucson, downtown. And they've got a beautiful virtual tour there where you can see the arrows will enable you to virtually walk through the corridor there. But if you'll notice, the big difference between the image that I showed you before and the one that we're viewing now is that that blue bar up in the left-hand side of the left sidebar there, where it says request an RFP. So not only is it a way of just showing, okay, here's what we have, and it's not just content, but it's actionable content. It's something that has a call to action embedded within it so that you can easily capture a lead or submit an RFP in this case. We've been speaking about the Bahamas a little bit, so I'd like to share another example of how they're conveying their destination and the variety and the diversity of all their islands through the island finder that we worked on with them. So the Bahamas markets 16 major islands, and each of them has its unique, distinct personality. To the average person, and outside of all of the professional travelers that we have here and the travel industry folks, might not know. They might just think of maybe they've been to Grand Bahama or to Nassau, but there's a wealth of diversity and variety in all of the islands. We saw the batik fabric that comes from Andros, and with this island finder, you can go in and you could say something like what kind of vibe that you want, right? So do you want something that's more high heels or flip-flops? And you can experience and see images and videos, etc., of that destination to give you an idea of whether or not you want to save it to your wish list, or in this case, you can click the Book Now button to view hotel properties for that particular island. And we've seen excellent take-up on this in terms of the number of leads that we're converting, because a lot of them are more relevant. It's not just showing what the latest offer is or forcing the user to kind of scroll through an unending list of options. It's making them very easy to find content that is relevant for them and to be able to act on it. The Bahamas also, what I like about it is that they have this kind of more traditional virtual reality tour on their website as well. This one is a beautiful Stocking Island in the Exumas. If any of you have had the privilege of being down there and walking in those soft sands of Chat and Chill, it's a wonderful place, and can't you see hosting a nice evening event or a sunset event or something like that right on that beach? It really gives you an idea of what it's like to be there. We can imagine that, we can feel that, and really see ourselves there. And then in the lower right-hand corner, there's a book button so that you can easily access more information to figure out how to make that a reality. So looking at some of the more recent developments, so Zoom has become a verb used by everyone these days, from conference attendees to students to educators all across the world. And for an obvious reason, it does what it does well, and it helps us to connect when we can't be there physically. But they recently introduced on Zoom, and what that allows Zoom subscribers to do is to charge an entry fee for people to attend a virtual event. So now when we think about having a conference or an event or any type of, if you wanted to even start a side business, let's say you have a dog grooming business or something related to dogs, you could start your own and you could show people how to do it online through video, and you could actually charge for that. So this is something that might not seem all that revolutionary, but when you consider the install base or the number of people using Zoom, and now the amount of information and conferences that are out there, now when you add that kind of paywall, it really opens up a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurship and businesses to grow, but also different types of revenue models that can take place without people physically having to be there. And again, that's the essence, obviously, of virtual travel. On this next slide, some of you may have heard, but Amazon has been talking for years and rumored to be getting into travel. It's kind of the one area where they are not selling anything. But they recently announced a beta where you can sign up to join the Amazon Explore product. And what this allows you to do is to virtually experience a place, but it's not just looking at a video. You actually have a guide that you can have direct feedback with as they're walking around, asking them questions. So you can spend an hour in Berlin or wherever you want around the world, and you will have a local expert guiding you there, answering questions as they come up. So so far, it's obviously launched very, recently, so the jury will be out on how successful it is. But when you think about the fact that a lot of us can't, we here in the U.S. we can't go to Europe. So if I want to, I'm a big Berlin fan. Missed ITB this year, but if I want to go there and to kind of explore some new places, there's a person, a local there on the ground that can give me that authentic experience, and I don't even have to be there. Now, will that supplant me wanting to go there? I don't think so. Not unless that experience was not good. I mean, if you see what a place is like and you don't like it, well, then that saves you, that helps you narrow down about where you do want to go, right? So in this case, it can also kind of increase that wanderlust. So if you're thinking about a place to have that next kind of incentive trip or that meeting and you want to check it out more and you need a way of kind of sharing that with the stakeholders or help in making that decision, we have the tools, all of the tools like we saw today on how we can explore those places and experience them without physically being there, but still being able to generate a lead, generate a booking, or get more information on that particular destination. So these are a number of the examples on how virtual travel has been monetized. They are by no means exhausted. If anything, I think that I'm a firm believer that out of crisis becomes opportunity. And I think we'll see a lot of innovation happening and coming that's going to really change the way that we do travel in our industry. So I'd like to move on and get your thoughts on virtual travel. So if our moderator could place the link in the chat, I'm going to try to open the chat here so that we can see. If you type that in, if you type in bit.ly/site20 in all caps VT, that will take you to a Google form with just like 3 or 4 questions on virtual travel to kind of get your perspective. And then there's also a form there where you can leave your name and email if you'd like to have the results sent to you, or if you have any information, if you'd like to know more about TripTuner, more about virtual travel, more about the Bahamas, anything, feel free to reach out. And I just want to open up my chat screen here to see if we have that. Great.
It's there.
Wonderful. I've got my screen is covered with my presentation, so the chat screen is not easily visible for me right now. So that's good. So everyone has that. We'll leave it in the chat screen. And for now, I'd like to leave. We've got a few more minutes here.
Yes, we do, Ted. We do have a few minutes so we can entertain any questions at this time, please. You can unmute your mic and ask question live.
In the meantime, thank you all for your attention, for attending, and looking forward to all of us getting back to travel in person very, very, very soon, and to success for all of us. So any questions, just feel free to unmute your mic. I'm going to stop my share, Janet, so that we can.
Okay, perfect.
So you'll see that it is actually me here. Okay, so we have the poll there in the chat. Feel free, you could leave the questions in the chat or just unmute your mic and let us know.
Are there any questions for Ted at this time?
Very welcome, Noelia.
Okay.
I did have, just talking about the 360 and the virtual tours. I have attended a lot of them, but they're usually just pretty static, like a photo that you can move around in. Is
Right.
there any opportunity for like a video motion tour?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at, so a lot of the examples, I didn't get into them too deeply, but and I think the difference between what virtual tours were, 10 years ago and are now, from the screenshot, they look very similar. But if you notice in that second example, there was an arrow in the floor of that hotel lobby. You can click that arrow and you can kind of travel around. So before, I know exactly what you meant when they first came out. I was working with hotels at Travelocity, and we had that content, but it was kind of like you felt like you were bouncing around a little bit, or you're in kind of a space capsule spinning through space, but these are actually more user controlled, so you can go through a particular door that you want, click the image to enter a different room, and then kind of walk around virtually that property or that pool or that, to get a better sense for the place. So it really helped. And in speaking, I've had a couple of conversations with the CEO of Threshold 360, and they're seeing a very big uptick in demand, particularly for virtual site inspections, because people just can't get to these properties, but it's really the next best thing and a great way to experience what it's like to be there, so that you can plan for things further down the line, right? Because we can't all just sit back. We should still be kind of building up momentum, staying top of mind with customers, and seeing what kind of leads and interests we can capture right now, so that when things do open up full bore, we'll all be prepared and ready to go.
Great. Thank you, Ted. Are there any other questions for Ted at this time? Nancy, thank you for joining us. I see Nancy Julie there. Ted, I actually have a question for you. Do you think the virtual experience will replace the live experiences on FAMs and site visits moving forward? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I don't think necessarily. I think it's a supplement, but I think it is a tool that we can use now to really push things forward and not have the world on pause. So they don't necessarily have to. I mean, nothing beats in-person experience, period, right? I mean, we know this from being on a lot of these webinars and virtual conferences now. So, and it's, there's nothing like being in a place, but I do think that it's the next best thing, and it can really, done well, you can really increase the appetite or the allure of a place and create more curiosity and the desire to travel, whether it's just for a site inspection or whether it's your everyday traveler. Great,
I totally agree. And just viewing those beautiful images that you've shown during your presentation, definitely you have to see those in person. You have to taste and feel it. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And hear the people. And I think that's what I like about that Cowboy Museum examples, because you have the people. And I think what you'll also see a lot just is in terms of marketing destinations, really sharing kind of more of the local culture, what local people like, because people are searching for those authentic experiences, whether it's an individual trip or whether it's an incentive trip or a company trip. They want to feel like they're a part of the destination. And there are a lot of new tools that we have now where you can convey that to kind of stimulate that desire and that demand.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I have another question for you. Do you think that for this kind of production, you need a high-end technology, or all of us are able to do it in some way? I'm talking from a DMC, and we always been involved or specialized in incentive trips. So this is brand new for us, these virtual trips, or it's more for individual travelers. So in that terms, should the company invest a lot of money to create these experiences, or?
So I don't think so, and that's actually why I prefer the broader definition of virtual travel, of experiencing a place without having to be there physically. And we saw that, I mean, the museum, the Cowboy Museum, they did it without anything. Instagram's free, right? They have their Instagram account, and they're already paying for the security guard to be there. It didn't cost them anything more. It was just a very creative way of connecting with people in a unique, authentic manner. So that's the beauty of it, is that there's so many tools out there. And if we think of it, because I think that's been the hurdle, is that in the past we think about virtual travel automatically equals expensive technology, and it doesn't. Virtual travel could be, I mean, I could convey to you, I could describe to you, my favorite travel experience of, like we were talking about on Stocking Island in the Exumas, and how the sand's really plush and your feet kind of dig in, but it's not too hot. But then you have just like a little bit of a breeze, and there's some music in the background next to the tiki bar, and you get a sense of a place. That's virtual travel. I just took you there mentally just by a story. So that can be, it can be shared in any way. And then the other nice thing about that is that you can test what works and what doesn't. So I would just try to look at it more broadly, and how you can really think about the destination, the property, etc., that you're marketing. What's unique about it, and what's really unique, and it's really had to force everyone, because not everyone can just be, everyone's looking for business now. So you really need to double down on what really you really stand for. So Bahamas, you have Androsia, you've got obviously cuisine and all the fresh conch that you get down there. All of those little things that make up that travel experience that aren't necessarily something that you're going to put on a billboard, right? You're going to put the nice, beautiful name on the billboard, but those granular experiences that people have when they first set foot, what do you feel? And trying to capture that, I think that's one of the best ways that you can convey it. And then obviously you have a lot of tools to be able to do it, depending on your budget.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ted. We can probably take one more question, please. Is there another question for Ted?
I mean, I just well, thank you all for your time. I mean, one more thought is just, we're all looking for ways to escape now mentally, right? And a lot of, we go outside, we get out into nature, etc. But just think if you had one of those goggles or something like that, and those, the virtual reality headset, and you could just be on that beach in the Bahamas, right before you go to sleep or something like that, and you listen to the sounds, and we have it on our phones. You listen to like ocean sounds or something, but all those different ways that can kind of take us there mentally, or it could be reading a book, etc. There are a lot of ways that you can do it without necessarily having a big budget.
Great, thank you, Ted. Hopefully we all will be visiting the Bahamas soon and the other destinations out there. I know I'm certainly ready to travel and experience those beautiful sight and tours that you spoke about. I want to thank you once again. I want to thank all the participants, and I hope you find this session useful as we live in this virtual space. Thank you, and I hope you continue to enjoy the sessions today.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Stay safe and stay well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.